Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is the Weekly Spinner Rack. That is a live show where I'm going to talk about all sorts of comic book stuff. I'm going to do some reviews from the past week. I'm going to talk to you about the latest news. We're going to have some really good fun. I've changed a lot of things on the setup, so hopefully today we're doing a little better than the last couple of weeks. I've got a brand new microphone. I've rebooted the connection and confirmed that I've got an Ethernet connection. So hopefully you guys are getting decent audio and decent picture quality today. Made a little intro video there. Got a backdrop just to block out some of the boxes. I'm putting some thought into it, folks. And tell you what, a double salute to you. Let's see who's here with me. Lovely. We're seeing a bunch of people in here. We're seeing Ron says, I double saluted right back. Dr. Schubel also, double salute. There we go. Good. Audio is way better. That's really nice to hear. Thank you. Sound is better. Lovely to see you here, Andy. Let's see. Chris does machines. Hey, Donatello is my favorite. If I seem distracted, it's because my kittens are downstairs playing around. Hopefully they do not mess with anything. Thank you, Jamil. Lovely to have you here. Aesthetic is key. Hopefully, over time, I continue to just make lots of little improvements on this, you know? Yep, using Super Chats to improve the stream. That's 100% right. Oh, wow. Vienna. Wow, Vienna. It's got to be pretty late there. One of my good buddies who works in comics is over in Munich. That's not super, super far. It's closer than I am. Let's see. Hello. 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 So many people here, just showing a few of these clothes, and we'll get right into the show, I think. Just to be clear, I'm still not showing a perfect stream health, okay? So if it seems to buffer here and there, that's something I still need to work on. That's something I still need to work on for the show. I guess we are using Comcast, so maybe I need to get faster upload speeds. There's somebody else from Europe. Hello, Joe. Oh, and look, another person. Why are all of you up so late? What's happening over in should I be worried? Is everything okay over in Europe, the whole continent of Europe? But lovely to have somebody here from Copenhagen. Lovely. Let's see. Zach says, just got some 11x17 Bristol and going to work on a comic. That's great. Great. Yeah, so some people say that they like just listening to the show as it goes on. Just audio while they work on either a game or drawing or something. Bye, Kat. Thought that they'd maybe show up for you guys, but no. Let's see. Another UKer. All right. I'll try not to worry. I'll try not to worry. What? 3 a.m. Oh, my goodness. I appreciate it. Yep. Good point here by J. Kim. Maybe it's just super early. There's not many comics to review this week, by the way, because, let's see. Charles says, is your computer using Wi-Fi? No, it's connected via Ethernet, so it should be a stable connection. I'm really not sure. It used to be just fine, obviously, for a long time. It seems to be a recent thing that I'm having a little bit of network issues. Let me just comment on this. This week is what's known in the biz as a fifth week. Comics come out, most comic book stores on Wednesdays, and there's usually 4 of them per month. Some months, of course, just because of the calendar, there's going to be a fifth one. A lot of times, those issues, there's not as many issues scheduled that week. It helps, I think, some of the monthly books catch up by having that little buffer here and there every once in a while. So there are many comics that I picked up this week, but I did pick up a sort of graphic novels and back issue type things to talk about. And I also just happened to get this, which I was pretty excited about. Volume 1, English edition of Slam Dunk by Takahiko Inoue. Or Inu, I guess is how he's pronounced. A lot of people will know this artist from his work on Vagabond, which is a fictionalized account of Miyamoto Musashi's life, a famous samurai. And by the way, there is news that apparently Takehiko, says that is going to come back, because that's unfinished for a long time. But this big hit, Slam Dunk, a basketball manga, huge hit. Very easy to find in Japanese. At least the first few volumes, not rare, so you don't have to like pay more than cover price, but rarely in stock. If you look at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, most comic book stores aren't going to have volume 1. So I was pretty excited to get this, because I've just heard about it for a long time. So I'm pretty excited to read that. Literally just got that this afternoon. Let's get into the reviews. Let me add something here. So first one that came out that I picked up is issue 2 of Damn Them All, written by Simon Spurrier, art by Charlie Adlard, colors here by Sophie Dodgson. So far, I am loving this book. There's some similarities to the character of Constantine from the DC and Vertigo universe, because it is about a British person that knows magic. And she works with the criminal element a lot. She works with organized crime, not to commit the crimes, just more work for hire, doing like investigations and stuff. And so we're still establishing the premise and stuff. But I like her attitude. She treats magic very seriously. She's like, magic should always be hard. There should always be a price to pay. And the artwork, of course, Charlie Adlard was already a talented artist before he ever worked on something like Walking Dead, but that was a long monthly book that he commit to. And I think that when you do something like that, you can't help but improve. The more we draw, the more we improve. That's just a fact, Let's see. Someone's following up, Wally, is about the Slam Dunk manga I was showing. I have not read his follow-up about the wheelchair basketball, no, but I want to read this one first anyway, and then I'll read that one. So we'll see. Love to see you here, Steve. Thank you. Let's see. It's strange. I don't remember any lag ever before the last 3 months. Did you change any hardware, software at all? No changes. This computer is literally dedicated to just this. We don't use it for anything else. So I don't know why anything would change. I might have to bring in an expert. Oh, sure. Yeah. Buck Dancer talking about how came across Charlie Adlard's work on X-Files. I remember that, by Topps Comics. And I think that Charlie's good for books like that, because obviously he uses some pretty thick shadows. He's very confident with stuff like that. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this book, Damn Them All. By the way, that's a pretty dynamic cover. You used to have to have that top be really, really dynamic because it would be in spinner racks, right? These days, most of comics are at a comic book store, and you see more like that much. And I think that a lot of artists are playing with that fact. You used to always have the title right up here. You'd have some sort of text to grab your attention, or something dynamic up here, and then the rest, could fill it in as needed. But these days, people are able to use the full cover, and I think that that's a pretty good example of using some negative space, and sort of I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but I like. Let's see. Hello, Tari. Hello, Moritaka. Let's see. Somebody, Chemdog says, oh, yeah. Bob from Sesame Street passed away. Yep. Definitely grew up with him. Totally agree, Tick Goblin. This is very appropriate for that Vertigo style of the 90s. Charlie Adlard would have done very well there, I think. I suspect. And the only other monthly book, just to be clear, this is the only other monthly book I picked up this week, Star Wars Hidden Empire. And I almost missed this one, but I did enjoy, they had a mini series a few months back dealing with Kira from the movie Solo. she's taken over this crime syndicate called Crimson Dawn. I didn't realize that Hidden Empire had come out. This is sort of the sequel to that, where she's not necessarily trying to make Crimson Dawn the most powerful crime syndicate, but she sort of hates bullies, even though she is a criminal, and she wants to take down, or at least massively disrupt, the Empire. So she's got a small but very efficient group of people, and she's using it to disrupt things. Hey, look who's here. You want to say hello? I think I got a little friend for us. Probably grown quite a bit since you've seen them last. Oh, can be a squirmy worm. This is, let's see. This is Lily. Yeah. This is Lily. Can't decide if you want to hang out with me or not? Gonna just play? This is a fair question. Isn't Darth Maul running Crimson Dawn? This is set in the timeline after that. She worked for Darth Maul. This is after Darth Maul has died. Kira is now running Crimson Empire. Written by Charles Soule. And if you haven't read any Charles Soule Star Wars, he really does get Star Wars. It just, none of it feels forced to me. The dialogue and the sort of science fiction ideas and stuff just feel very authentic. And I have to admit that while I love, Jedi and Sith being in the world of Star Wars, I tend to find the stuff I enjoy the most these days to be the stuff that focuses on more real people, people without the superpowers, because I loved Andor, I love The Mandalorian, and I think that this Hidden Empire is of a kind with that. Wow, thank you, Steve Sorensen. Sorry, my kitty's climbing around in the back, distracting me. Charlie Adler do Savage for 2000 AD, a great read. I'd be curious to read that. Looks like somebody talking about my cat. Looks like a jaguar. Well, I've got two kitties that are Bengal kittens. They're growing up fast. Oh yeah, if you haven't watched Andor yet, that's some of my favorite Star Wars, period. And I know it's not going to be Star Wars for everybody because, there's something to be said for the adventure, not necessarily focusing on all the criminals and the grittiness and stuff. The Star Wars, at its core, should probably be all ages entertainment, but I really liked Andor, which is a little more grounded, sort of makes the Empire make sense how it works. I really thought it was impressive. I watched Willow too, Mandela. Charles Soule is a consultant on Disney Star Wars. As well he should be. He really seems to get it. I don't want to give anything away here, but yeah, Kira makes some big moves against the Emperor, has some tricks up her sleeve. It's pretty entertaining seeing somebody try to disrupt Palpatine, since he's always presented as planning so far ahead of everyone. Those are the only two monthly comics that I picked up, or floppies, I should say. I picked up a back issue. I thought about this one for a little while because it's not cheap to get G.I. Joe issue 1. I always had a reprint growing up. Well, you guys know I love G.I. Joe. I do. So this is an excellent, excellent copy, and I decided I would get it. So, yeah. This is written by Larry Hama. Artwork in issue 1 by Herb Trimpe. And I think it's some of his better artwork. Trimpe can be hit and miss for me in a big way. I'll do an episode about him someday because he drew a good Hulk. He really did a good Hulk, but otherwise his characters always seemed sort of off to me, just not quite on model. And when it came to the 90s, he completely changed his style and tried to draw like Rob Liefeld, which probably, did allow him to keep getting work. But anyway, I was excited to get that. Now, I got two sort of back issue things here. Not back issues, but just things that have come out recently, not monthly books. First, let me talk about this one. Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands by Kate Beaton. Hopefully a bunch of you know Kate Beaton, at least from her really funny web comics, which have been compiled in editions like Hark, a Vagrant. She's hilarious. Great, great cartoonist. I think she's funny. She's really smart about history and stuff like that. And look at this though. Look at the size of this book. This is over 400 pages talking about a 3 period in Kate's life right after college. She grew up in a very small town on an island near Nova Scotia. I think there's a map in here. Yeah. Okay. So here's Nova Scotia. Down here for the United States, you'd have Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. She grew up in this island called, and I might not pronounce it right, Maybau, but got work right after college out here in Alberta, a place called Fort McMurray. A lot of people will move there because of the work. What kind of work? We're talking about oil refineries that are pulling up oil from the sands. That's not what she went to college for or anything like that. She got an art degree, but she wanted to pay off her student loans as fast as possible and get her life started properly. So she decided to take some very hard work. This story is one of isolation and what that does to people, because they live at these camps because they're so remote. And the population is something like 50 men to every one woman that works there. So obviously she deals with a lot of, well, honestly, harassment. And some of it's even like darker than that. There are funny moments, but this is a really fascinating story about somebody becoming an adult, but also just looking at what this isolation does to people. She asks questions like, not every guy here is necessarily an asshole, but certainly the ones that come and constantly hit on me are kind of assholes. Is it the camp that does that to them, or are they already like that? Like, she's like, like, I think of my dad as a good person and, like my cousins and stuff like that. But would they be these same sort of jerks if they were just stuck in this environment surrounded by the same sort of stuff? It's fascinating. It really is. I read this in 2 quick sessions. Even though it's over 400 pages, I just could not put this down. So I give this a very strong recommendation. I'm positive this will end up in my top 10 comics of 2022. I always do a list like that at the end of the year. I was really, really fascinated by it, and I give it a strong recommendation. Now, I enjoy biographical and autobiographical stories told in comic book form. So I guess I'm predisposed to like this. And I'm already familiar with Kate's work. I've read everything she's published, and I got to meet her a few times at the Small Expo a long time ago now. But this is unlike anything she's done before. It's a standalone book published by Drawn and Quarterly. Boy, do I recommend it. Look at this, Jay Muse. I'm heading to Fort St. John in the morning to work in the oil sands. Well, then I guess you know what it's like. Do you actually live on camp, or do you get to commute from town? Because Kate lives like there in the camps, and it's pretty isolating, it seems, for her. But boy, did I like it. Last book I'll talk about before I get into the news and drawing something is, I've heard about this manga for quite a while, Tokyo Revengers. Very popular, sells very, very well. Only just wrapped up in Japan last month. Had a run for like 5 or 6 years. It's written and drawn by a gentleman named Ken. I'm probably pronouncing that too. What's it about? It's an interesting sort of supernatural premise. They never explain, okay? Kind of like something like Groundhog Day. You never really know why that happens. It doesn't matter. You just go with the premise. This is Takamichi. And he's like in his later 20s, and he's sort of become nothing with his life. He just works hourly jobs, gets fired a lot, hasn't really gone anywhere in his life. This was him when he was in middle school. He was like tough. He ran with a small gang. Well, towards the beginning of this story, somebody pushes him in front of a train. Instead of dying, he finds that he has gone back in time 12 years to his junior high days. He had a girlfriend back then. That's the only girlfriend he ever had. In the modern day, she'd been killed by a gang. By going back in time, he basically has a chance to change the present. He could potentially save life. Maybe he can change his life. And maybe like change some of his friends' lives for the better. And there is a premise where he can come back to the present sometimes, but any time that he's in either of these eras, either the present day or the past, they're moving concurrently. Okay, so if he spends 2 weeks in the past, he's lost 2 weeks in the present day, and if he stays in the present day too long, he's losing that time when he can jump back in time. And like there's certain things that he knows will happen, like a certain gang member is going to die on a specific day, so he's got to get back there and solve that within like a 1 week time frame. He can't just keep going back in time or anything. Fascinating. It's fast. Let's see. I've got a super chat here. Thank you, Michael. Don't worry about being late. We're all glad that you're here. Very glad. Well, here's a fair criticism. Time travel stories are difficult to make. A lot are full of plot holes. This is not a traditional time travel story. It's how superheroes can be wish fulfillment, as in, hey, what would it be like to have enough strength and power that people would have to respect you and that you could affect change in the world? Well, this is, what if you weren't necessarily anything special, but you could go back in time and relive your life with what you know now? Hopefully you've gained some maturity and insight, and maybe you could do things better with a second chance. That's what this is about, second chances. The artwork, occasionally cartoony, but mostly pretty realistic. In fact, I would not say that this looks like much typical manga to me. I would say that the artist has some Western influences. He'll draw a little more detail on a nose than some artists. He will still draw like comical things. That's something Japanese have no problem doing. Like, realistic here, but if you're going to have something silly happen, some pretty cartoony faces. They don't mind switching up the style back and forth from panel to panel. Some really lovely screen tones. So this is the first 2 Tankobon volumes published by 7 Seas. I'm so glad I finally picked this up. It's really good. Fortunately, ChemDog, you don't need to worry too much about the actual mechanics of the time travel. It's not like that. It's not even really much like, say, Back to the Future or anything. It's just the premise that gets him to relive his life. And occasionally he's coming back to the present briefly to talk with a detective, and they can compare what he's affected for changes. It's really good. It really is. I get why it's so popular. Do I recommend it? I do. Wait to read more. And I will say, I think one of the reasons why manga becomes so popular here is because we aren't reading it weekly. We find out the cream of the crop because it makes it abroad. It gets compiled, and you can binge it. There's something to be said for the binge model of reading a comic book story. And generally, they're going to be pretty consistent because of the same creative team. So I think that that's something interesting to say. Let's see. Makoto S says, I remember Alan Moore's Twilight of the Superheroes pitch was kind of time paradox stuff. I thought that was interesting. It was a really interesting, unfulfilled premise. And cartoonist Tom Scioli has made a video on his channel where he literally just reads Alan Moore's pitch for Twilight of the Superheroes, which was sort of going to be the end of the DC Comics universe. It was really interesting. He's got some very animation and a lot of illustration to back it up and make it interesting. It's a fascinating, unused idea. All right, so I've got some light sketching done here. What am I going to draw today? Indiana Jones. Heck yeah. We've got an Indiana Jones movie coming out, and is it going to be good? I don't know. Harrison Ford's 80 damn years old, but I have to say the trailer at least looked pretty good. I'm definitely going to give it a chance because, come on, those first three Indiana Jones movies are fantastic. They're just excellent. And I'm excited to give it another try. What do I have to lose except my own time? So I'm going to doodle some Indiana Jones here and see how that goes for us. And then I will get into the news of the week. Whoa, we've got another super chat. I should always acknowledge that. Geriatric Jones. Oh, so mean. Hey, good. My sister is here. Hello, Jean, with the perfect quote. We named the dog Indiana. Steve says, Chris, chat, I buy comics for myself for Christmas. What are the comics manga of the year for 2022? I enjoyed Action Comics and heard Immortal X-Men was good. Steve, I'm still compiling my list of the best of the year. I always sort of do that as my last video of the year, my top 10. So I'll have some recommendations soon. One of them, I probably Tokyo Revengers and Ducks by Kate Beaton will both be on that list. Probably. I got to think about it some more, but probably. Let's see what else we can do. Black Phoenix. Alan Moore's pitch for Twilight of the Superheroes used to be online, but DC got it taken down. Luckily, I downloaded it ages ago. Like I say, they're not probably going to be able to take down a YouTube video because you could argue it's commentary and criticism. I think the way Tom presents it, I think he added something to it. So look up Tom Scioli's YouTube channel and you can see it there. Let's get into the news of the week. What do we got first? Oh, look at that. A little bit of a presentation there for you. I thought this would be fun to start with. There was a police chase over stolen comics. And if we look at this, I think that this picture is Graham Cracker Comics. I think that that's the name of this place here. I'm not 100% sure. It's in California. Here we see a bunch of left behind, a dropped box of comics from the scene of the crime. All right, so over the past few months, at least 5 stores have been robbed in what area? Near Murrieta, California. The news revealed some of those places: Toy Fusion, Comics and Collectibles, A1 Comics. I'm not familiar with any of those stores. There were at least a couple more that were robbed. But these criminals were caught in the act this past week. It was just this last Thursday. What are we on today? Monday. It's just like a few days ago. Hold on. Super chat. Thank you, Steve. Yes, I love likes. I love likes. So it wasn't like any sort of like clever heist or anything like that. You know, they were just doing a smash and grab. But these guys knew what to look for. They were grabbing, high-end Pokemon cards and like rare back issues off the wall. So, these were definitely some nerds that knew what they were going for. And they broke into one place, Graham Cracker Comics, which is actually a chain, I believe. I haven't shopped there, but I'm pretty sure that I've heard that before. I'm pretty sure they are a chain. And either way, they had a live CCTV, like closed circuit security feed, and they happened to be looking at it at the right time because the store was closed, and they saw people breaking in, so they called the police. 2 culprits were loading comics into a black Dodge Charger. One of those guys was caught there in the parking lot. The other one got in the car and raced off, and the police chased him. High-speed chase that resulted in, look at that. That is that exact Dodge Charger. The dum-dum crashed his car while he was being chased. As you can see, every glass window blown out, all the airbags deployed, crumple zone totally messed up here. Like the wheels just like came off on the front end. They had to put it on a pallet here at the impound lot. So yeah, they caught the second guy as well. Now they didn't catch him. Like he had survived this crash just fine, apparently, got out and went on the run, but they found him hiding. They put up a perimeter and they did catch this guy. So they caught these guys that stole a bunch of comics. And here's some of the evidence that the police were logging. And the guy that was in the car, the news has identified him. They call him a suspect, but the police seem to know who it is. Name is Anthony Shepard, 25 years old. And if you can see this, like there are all sorts of magic booster decks here. There's some Golden Age, or actually this is still Golden Age. We've got Kid Colt Outlaw up here. We've got an old Justice League from like the Silver Age. I can't quite make out some of these, but look at these stacks and stacks of comics were all in the car. I think that this is a broken down box. That's pretty dramatic stuff, huh? Looks like the car caught fire. Yeah, let me jump back because that's like the most dramatic. Wait, there we go. Look at that thing. I don't think it did catch fire. I'm looking at it. I've seen cars that have caught fire, and I've seen cars that have been like crashed because of like my job, and we sometimes appraise them. I think that this guy just really scraped up the driver's side. He crashed into something like a tree, but scraped along some sort of wall as well. He really messed up his car. The guy's lucky to be alive, in my opinion. Guess this Dodge Charger couldn't dodge that charge. All right, that's pretty good, Jackie. I think we're allowed to make fun of Chris. We're allowed to make puns about that. Ever play pinball with a car? Yes, Big A Dave, exactly. They call him the speed racer. They call him the caught criminal racer. Let's see. He tried to complete his Golden Age collection. He did not. He did not succeed. But I thought that was, some light but kind of interesting news. It's not, every day that we get to see a dramatic police chase that ends in a car crash over specifically comic books. But that is definitely the case in this instance. So I thought I'd share that. I'm good on jokes until next year. Yes, lovely to have you here, Marvin Nation. I know you haven't always been available every week, but always glad to have you here. Appreciate it. That car was no General Lee. Yeah, if he tried to jump the county lines, he completely failed. Jokes! He was a hair away from hitting 88 miles per hour. You thought that Superman trashed his car. I love that one comic that I reviewed from the Golden Age where Superman is just like, there are car accidents, so I hate all cars. I'm going to destroy every car I see. And he just proceeds to tear up and destroy whole dealerships. Anyway, we'll move on. I thought that was a cool one because it also has a bit of closure, right? At least a bunch of stuff was recovered. I don't know. This was just recovered, I assume, from just that one chase, and they'd been hitting stores for a couple months. I know at least one of those stores, I'm pretty sure it was A1 Comics, said that they'd had like about $5,000 worth of merchandise stolen. So hopefully they got it back. Moving on. I want to acknowledge this. Oni Lion Forge. They announced that they've hired a new publisher. Specifically, they've hired a gentleman named Hunter Goranson as their new president and publisher. I think that's worth mentioning because obviously, if you've followed my show at all, you know that Oni Lion Forge has been in the news a bunch because they've been having trouble keeping their employees lately. They've downsized massively. But Oni has a really beautiful history of making some fantastic comic books. So it would be nice to see them recover from that. Maybe this is the beginning of a recovery period. Well, time will tell on that. Who is Hunter Goranson? He's got a lot of industry experience. He worked at Valiant from 2011 through 2017 as their vice president of marketing and communications. He co-founded Bad Idea Comics in 2021. You probably heard about them if you follow comic book news, because Bad Idea were the people that put out that slabbed comic that had no comic inside. They called it an invisible comic. Pretty gimmicky, I know, but that was something they did to get their name out there, and hey, it worked. So at least as far as marketing goes, this guy's probably pretty smart with that stuff. He joined Boom Studios development team in 2021, but yeah, now he's left there, and he's the president and publisher at Oni Lion Forge. Are any of you guys reading anything from Oni right now? I'm really not honestly sure off the top of my head what they're even putting out right now. It's definitely been a minute since I went out of my way to pick up an Oni comic. But Oni's had a lot of fantastic creators work with them over the years. And, obviously a place like Oni is primarily made by the people involved. And the people involved, want to collaborate with certain people. And that's how it all happens. It's not like they really own an IP that you can market the hell out of by itself. But I want them to do well. I bought a trade paperback of Dead World only to have the illustrator sign it. Okay. Last and only Oni book I got was Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim. Just fantastic. I miss Barry Ween. Okay. Looks like they do the Agretsuko comic with Sanrio. Jim Mahfood will know what's up with Oni if he is here. I don't think he is here today. I know I chatted with him briefly, and he is back from Paraguay. He got invited to the Paraguay Comic-Con this past weekend. That's pretty interesting. That's a country I doubt I'll ever be lucky enough to visit. I don't know. One of the advantages of being a comic book artist, getting to be invited to foreign countries that you wouldn't otherwise be able to prioritize. So anyway. If you are here, Jim, feel free to speak up, but I don't think he is. Oh, right. Yeah. Orcs in Space. I was reading Orcs in Space. That's probably the most recent thing that you know what else they have that a lot of people are probably reading? Not necessarily in this room, but they have the license to do the Rick and Morty comics. That's probably their big seller right now, if I had to guess. Xavier, you're from Paraguay. Did you get to go see Jim Mahfood at your comic convention? Letter 44. Sure, I remember that. Yep. Oni does the Rick and Morty D&D crossover books. Yep. The last Oni book I got was The Damned by Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt. Very cool. Very cool. Looks like they do Stumptown, which I learned about from one of your videos. Stumptown is a good crime comic. Stumptown is really good. Yeah. They've made a lot of great books, just to be clear. Wait, didn't they do Xander Cannon's book? Supermax or Kaiju Max? Kaiju Max is what I'm thinking of. I think they did that one. So Oni has a great history. Good luck to them. We'll see what this does. But for a while, I was feeling like all I was coming across was news about key executives leaving and people having issues getting full payments. So I don't want that. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Kaiju Max, good. Okay. Made some of your favorite books? Nice, very nice. I lost my job, so I had to stop buying comics. Please let me know how Spider-Man does in recent issues. I like the just Spider-Man title by Dan Slott and Mark Bagley. Amazing Spider-Man has lost me. I took it off my pull list. Didn't like that. Oh, right. Jonah and the Impossible Monsters. I know that was a pretty good hit. So very cool. Very cool. You guys are so educated. I love it. Let's see what else we for news. I know I've got a bunch of pieces tonight. Here we go. DC Universe Infinite. DC Universe Infinite is DC's app and web-based reader so that you can buy their comics and read back issues and stuff like that. Well, they somewhat recently introduced what's called the Ultra tier. And what that does is you can read recent issues. There's only a 1 month gap between when they hit newsstands or comic book store shelves and when they make it to the app. Only 1 month. That's a really small window with the Ultra tier. And this week they announced that they added a lot of stuff to it, so I thought I'd point that out. They say that they've added over 5,000 new titles to the Ultra version. That includes a lot of Black Label titles and Vertigo titles. Some of that's pretty recent, but we're talking big books like Three Jokers, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, Shade the Changing Man, Sandman Mystery Theater. Those are sort of back issues from Vertigo that weren't the easiest to come across anywhere. So that's pretty cool. And the regular tier, you can still read a lot of stuff from Vertigo and Black Label. So, you do have like Watchmen, Preacher, Why the Last Man. So I don't really mention this just to like talk up DC, like they need the help. But it seemed like a pretty good value to me overall, to be honest. They've got a lot of back issues, a lot of content. I'm giving some strong thought to signing up with it. I'm giving some strong thought because they definitely have some really good content there. And the thing is, I do still personally prefer to read print editions of comics. I get digital comics mostly for like editing purposes for my videos. It saves me a little time of scanning, but primarily I do enjoy reading print. But sometimes I go on like, a trip or something and I still want to read a bunch of comics, especially on like a plane or something. So there are reasons why I still read plenty of digital comics, or sometimes some things are just really, really hard to find as back issues. Not everything is out there in print. So there are definitely plenty of reasons why I still get digital stuff as well. Do I buy trades or omnibuses or mainly floppies? I wouldn't say mainly anything these days. I would say I do get a good amount of trades. I don't generally get omnibuses. There's some beautiful presentations with omnibuses, but primarily I've already either gotten those with the floppies or the trades. So there's not many. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have many omnibuses. I don't have many. There's nothing that comes to mind that I own. There's some that I always get tempted by, but they also come with a big price tag, and I've usually already read those stories. So I wouldn't say never. I could see a day where I try to just sort of downsize my collection in a certain way and maybe move over to a bunch of omnibuses for certain things. But personally, I don't have many right now. Good question. Let's see. Ultra tier just feels like it should be the base product. Basically, if you get the regular thing, not the Ultra tier, I believe it's a 3-month window until you get the new comics. Peg Warmers, you have a great point that has also kept me sometimes from getting omnibuses. They're a little harder to read. If I am getting ready for bed and I'm in bed, I can either lie on my side or have it propped on my chest, and I can read a floppy, and I can even read most trade paperback type things. Not as easy to read a big, thick omnibus that feels like a small workout. I could take it to the gym and get my workout, and then like when I get on the treadmill, read it, but otherwise just like use it to do lifts. I could do that. Is that a good idea? I don't know. I'm brainstorming here. But I do think about it sometimes for some of my very favorite artists and writers and runs. There is something that would be nice about owning, for me specifically, the Captain America run by Ed Brubaker, all in one volume. That would just sort of be nice to have on the shelf in a way. We'll see. We'll see. I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Gotta multitask. And I don't get this physique, just to be clear, like just from working out. It's time that I came clean, folks. I didn't want to have to do this. Well, I'm ashamed to admit that this is not all natural. I take a lot of steroids. I spend about $15,000 a month on steroids and supplements. I've misled you all, but like these abs, also I have etching done so that like they still look like abs when I sit down. When I move around, you can still see my abs. I've had some etching done. Yeah, I spend about $15,000 a month on steroids to get this body. This is not all natural. Just kidding around. Hopefully you guys know what I'm referring to. Let's go back to news. Gotta multitask. The downfall of Omega. The mask has fallen. Yup. I know. So many of you believed me. Bought Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, want Brubaker cap. Yeah. Yeah, Liver King basically is Captain America, right? What? Can you imagine Captain America just like walking around being like, Primal, come on, Bucky, let's go get some Nazis. You knew that I was the result of performance-enhancing drugs? I thought that I was convincing you all that this was completely natural. Was it necessary? Yeah. If you want to be in the Marvel Universe, what can I say? You got to do these PEDs so that you can have the right physique. They don't want to have us all talk about it, but come on. You think that Chris Hemsworth gets that all just by waking up early and working out? No, come on. Let's be real here. Let's be real here. I wonder if there are literally any Marvel heroes that have those ripped physiques that don't do steroids. I don't know. Do I think that Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt and Chris Evans, all the Chris's basically, do I think that they've done steroids? I probably think that that's likely. I think that that's likely. Do I think maybe Paul Rudd did? Probably not. His is a more believable physique for just like eating well and stuff like that, not like shredded to hell. I don't think that Robert Downey Jr. necessarily did, but I'm just like thinking it through. Yeah, I don't know. I think a bunch of those guys have done PEDs to get in those physiques. I think it's just not realistic to think that you can do that without it. I don't know. If not steroids, at least TRT. I don't know what TRT is. I have to admit, I'm not an expert in this field. Yeah, K-Bar says there's a 99.9% chance they did. You can have a great physique by working out for a long time, but you don't get the gains as fast or as defined as if you take all sorts of PEDs. That's just a fact. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. probably himself wouldn't wanted to do any drugs, but unfortunately, some of these guys don't have to. I don't think Tom Holland necessarily needed too. You know, he's always been a guy that has been able to do the acrobatic stuff, and I don't think he necessarily had to do anything for that. I like that. I heard that Rocket Raccoon is a roid monster. I don't know. I'm pretty sure when Paul shrinks that it's CGI. No. I think that he's committed to his craft and he learned how to shrink. It's all CGI. There are probably times when, like, they're in a suit that it's absolutely enhanced. But, you know, there's certain guys who you've seen their bodies, and that's got to be the result of performance-enhancing drugs. What do Rob Liefeld's characters take to gain muscles? Very light brushwork. Very, very light. Method acting. I assume you're talking about Paul Rudd and his shrinking while on screen. Yeah, exactly. Tom Holland was a dancer, and I think if you've been dancing for a long time, that's an athlete. It's going to keep you lean and in good shape. And yeah, but there's certain guys like the way they've bulked up. I mean, did you see how skinny Chris Evans was at the beginning of Captain America when he was getting beat up in an alley in like 1940s Brooklyn? He was so skinny, and then he was so huge. I think that's steroids. All right, obviously I'm kidding there. And all Hulk Hogan had to do was work out, say his prayers, and ate his vitamins. His vitamins being a hell of a lot of steroids. A hell of a lot. Yeah, you know, Kumail, I love Kumail, by the way. I think he's an awesome guy. I don't know if what he may have done or may not have done, because he legit seemed sort of surprised by his own transformation, and he did a lot of videos showing just how intense his workouts were, but I bet he took at least something to get there in that kind of time frame. It just seems unlikely that he didn't. Not to get too serious, but it's cruel letting us normies believe these bodies are possible with exercise, chicken, and broccoli. Yeah, exactly. You can get in fantastic shape from working out and eating healthy, but you don't get the same gains as if you take even a little bit of steroids. You know, like that bulks you up. And once you've taken some steroids, even if you stop and then you work out, those gains will come back faster. Like that's just proven. But anyway, we've talked a lot about that. We definitely went on a tangent there. I know. That's what's on my mind. News. Peter David. Peter David's, I would call him a modern legend. So let's pull that up. Peter David's in the hospital right now. Hopefully a lot of you know about Peter. He's written a lot of great comics, in my opinion. I loved his run on Hulk. I read pretty much, from pretty much beginning to end. I did. I read his whole run. I liked Hulk a lot. I thought Spider-Man 2099 was interesting. Supergirl was decent. I've talked in a video about what he did for Aquaman. He did a lot for Aquaman. He had a great run on X Factor, making it sort of more of a detective type of book, which was fun and cool. He's had money problems before. He's had to have, sort of GoFundMes to help with his taxes once. He wasn't great at keeping track of his own finances, but I don't necessarily think that makes you a bad person. I think a lot of people have not been taught about how to handle personal finance growing up. And I know that for a fact because, my day job is selling people cars. And it's astonishing how many people don't really know what a credit score is, what an APR is. And I don't blame them or look down. It's like, I think that this is stuff that you need to be taught in school. But I'm getting a little off track. So he's had a GoFundMe before was my point, and he's got one again because unfortunately he has had some very serious health issues in the past week. He is in a hospital recovering right now, but he's supposed to have surgery either like today or tomorrow, something like that. He had a small heart attack. he had a major stroke followed by a series of small strokes. Fortunately, he can still talk. He's still verbal. Strokes can do different things to different people. But he seems to be all there mentally, thank goodness. But this was unexpected, and his wife was saying, like, this is going to be very expensive, like the surgery and stuff like that. I can tell you I'll tell you my own story with the medical world and how expensive that can be. But yeah, it definitely can be, even if you have insurance. A friend launched a GoFundMe so that they could, like, hopefully pay their bills. They have an $80,000 goal. They've already crossed 70,000 when I last looked at it. Good. It is too bad that here in America, we constantly have to do these things when we have unexpected, huge medical emergencies. Because just to be clear, our insurance just does not cover everything. It just doesn't. When I got sick with COVID, I was in the hospital for a week. I had full coverage insurance. I still had medical bills totaling around $20,000. $20,000 after all sorts of, like, just in, like, sort of copays and stuff that insurance doesn't cover. Just from different hospitals and stuff. It was brutal. Brutal. So yeah, let's see. Peter David was writing Spider-Man and Spidey finds a baby. Ask him if his baby was his Spidey. Said, throw it at the wall and see if it's... Oh, okay. He was writing Spider-Man. Spidey finds a baby. Ask him if his baby was Spidey. Spidey said, throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. Got it. Yes. Yes. Any minimum wage job in Mexico would cover Peter's bills completely, 100%. Look, it is a huge failing of my country, how we handle medical expenses. It just is. We have some great healthcare facilities. I've worked for a hospital. We have some great doctors, nurses, some people that really, really care, really, really intelligent. But I do find our system a bit broken in terms of how it gets compensated. It's just really, really broken. Oh my goodness. That's scary, Mandela. That's scary. Good luck finding a job that can give you at least something. Let's see. I work for a huge corporation and have the top insurance offered. I still have thousands in bills from a hernia surgery. Yeah, it's heartbreaking hearing these. Can't believe Chris takes our money on Patreon and puts it towards staying alive. Yep, I know. Isn't it? Damn, sad to hear it. Yeah, it is. Fortunately, a lot of here's the silver lining in this dark cloud. It's sad what's happening to Peter right now. Fortunately, he's a guy who has a nice fan base, so he is in a better position than most people because some people are ready to help him. Because it's a GoFundMe, you can either do anonymous like I did, or you can, put your name in, which several lovely big name creators have. I think Zeb Wells is currently like the top donor. He donated $2,000 to Peter. I've been complaining that I don't love Zeb's current Amazing Spider-Man run, but he's done some other great stuff and obviously is a really caring, sensitive, wonderful guy if he's willing to, donate that kind of money to somebody else to help them get help. It's too bad that anyone would need to be in this position. It's a really scary position to be in, to get very sick in this country, to get very sick. I haven't read that one, Infamous Fallen Angel. No, I haven't read that one, actually. I am from the UK, and so all expenses are paid. I can be massively sick for free, which is nice. It's part of why sometimes I do consider becoming an expat, moving to another country. There's another, as long as we're talking about charity, it's the end of the year. Sometimes you don't know what to get somebody. Maybe donate to a charity in their name. Some people really like that. And I just remembered, I donated to a charity. Like it's something I tend to do, donate to a few charities at the end of the year. Yeah, there. I guess you can't really even see that though, right? No, that's too small. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Yeah, too bright. Never mind. It doesn't matter. One of the charities I donated to this year was the Hero Initiative. I think it's a charity that's worth mentioning, so I'll point that out. It's comic book related, so I think that this is a good place and time to mention it. Hero Initiative is dedicated to helping comic book creators who have fallen on tough financial times. So, there's lots of, at this point, like older Silver Age creators, right, that have created some indelible characters, maybe don't have regular work right now, have either, health bills or tax bills, things like that, that they just could use some help with. Well, that's where the Hero Initiative comes in. So it's also known as a commitment to our roots. And it's something I like to support because, look, I'm making some money in a way off of the back of comics, right? Well, not in a way. That's what I do. I talk about comics and I make some revenue from it. I'm not getting rich off it, but I'm getting some. So I think it would be a shame if I didn't give stuff back. So that's the charity in terms of comics that I give to at the end of the year, as well as trying to support my local comic book stores by buying things like, did I personally need the back issue of G.I. Joe #1? Well, I wanted it, but did I need it? No. Part of why I get that, support my local comic shop. I made a contribution to Peter David, so why not Chris? Oh, as in, yeah, you just gave me a super chat. Thank you, Jeff. That's really sweet of you. But anyway, I thought it was at least worth mentioning. There's the website, gofundme.com/f/Peter-David-fund. Easy enough to look up. He's going to have to go through some surgery. And let's all just look, no surgery comes without risks. Let's hope that everything goes smoothly because I personally would love to have some more Peter David stories. And I thought it was worth sharing because he's a pretty prominent creator that I'm sure a lot of us have read and enjoyed the work. And maybe we're in a position to give a little. And if we all pull together, cool. Hero Initiative is great. Baltimore Comic-Con collected a lot of money for them this year. That's nice to hear. That really is nice. Let's see. Happens in other creative industries too. Yeah, creative industries have it the worst. Like some of us at least have some insurance, but you work in the creative industry, you have to buy your own, and it's very expensive. Happens, let's see, Chris Jericho has quietly been dropping money on other wrestlers' GoFundMes for years, even if they're small time. That's really nice to hear. That's really nice. Miguel O'Hara was in Spideyverse 2. How much did Peter get, Sony? I'm sure he got something. I hope he did. Peter David is such a legend. The industry's so corrupt. He shouldn't have hundreds of millions. He should have hundreds of millions in royalties. Read that completely wrong. Sorry, Brian. Sadly, don't work like that. Medical, entertainment, insurance, media, etc. There was a period of time where just this past year, basically, where I decided I would go part-time at my job selling cars so that I could try to focus a little bit more on YouTube and growing that. And so for a while, I had to buy my own insurance because as soon as I went part-time at my job, I don't get health insurance anymore. That's a big benefit. It's a big benefit that I really valued. And I had to give that some strong thought. Oh my God, the monthly expenditure of that was so high. And I'm lucky because my wife does work full-time. And because I'm her spouse, I was actually able to get on her insurance, which is much more affordable. So I'm lucky that my wife was there and willing to do something like that for me. Not everybody is. I'll tell you some more news. Maybe it'll be even more fun than this. Let's see. Yes, it is more fun. I don't know about you. I love Jeff Smith's work, and I especially love Bone. I've obviously made an episode talking about how cool and important it is. Well, while the story is done, Jeff Smith has announced that he's going to tell a little bit more Bone stuff. Yes, he made a new deal this year for a graphic novel set in the world of Bone to come out in 2023 through Scholastic Graphics. It's an anthology. It's going to be called Bone, More Tall Tales. The writers will be Jeff Smith paired with Tom, I'm going to butcher his name, Sniegoski. And Jeff will be one of the artists, but it's an anthology. So you've also got Stan Sakai, Katie Cook, several other people. Hey, as long as he's like writing it and involved, more Bone, I'm in. Apparently it's going to be the Bone cousins telling stories around a campfire. I think along with the rat creatures, they're just going to be telling little stories from their past. Cool. Anything Bone, I'm in. I love that book. I think it's one of the all-time best in comics. I really do. So thought I'd throw that out there. You know, look, we were set up for a while. We had hope that we were going to get a animated version finally, because this is perfectly suited for animation. I don't think anyone could argue that. And Netflix picked it up. I think they were thinking of doing at least a trilogy. And that got picked up around 2019. Guess what happened in April of this year? Leadership at Netflix changed hands a little bit, and various projects got canceled, including, unfortunately, Bone. So that means Jeff Smith and his wife have time to work on something else. And while they're working on that, I guess they figured, all right, we'll make a few more Bone stories if everyone's going to just bail on us for now. Is your job basically the airplane story from Fight Club? I don't really remember it. It's been too long since I read or watched Fight Club. I love that movie, actually, but it's been so long. I don't remember the airplane story in Drocktone. Sorry. Speaking of animated versions of comics, have you heard about David Fincher and Tim Miller's The Goon? No, actually, I don't think I did, but I would like to. I like The Goon. I very much admire Mr. Powell. Oh yeah, Wednesday, the show on Netflix. Totally agree. Very good show. Very good show. Industry perspective here. We have our resident pro. I'm going to call you today, Andy. Bone seems cursed. That book has had so many tries at an animated version. I so hope it eventually gets made somehow. It just seems perfectly suited for animation, and it's a big story. So a place like Netflix made a lot of sense. Whereas I think before it might have been Nickelodeon that was thinking of doing it as a series of movies. I think a TV show with a good budget is really the way to go for Bone specifically. Boy, I would like to see that. It's on YouTube? Okay, I'll watch the Goon trailer after I wrap up the show today, folks. Oh, Zach with an important piece. You know what? I didn't have that in the news, but it's worth pointing out. Aileen Kaminsky-Crumb. She was definitely one of the pioneers in underground comics, married to another pioneer, Robert Crumb. They did a lot of work collaborating together. And yeah, just a talent in her own right. And sadly, she passed away in France, her home in France, after battling cancer for a while now. So that's too bad. I think she was in her late 70s. I don't have that news in front of me, but Aileen was definitely a unique voice, and it's very sad that we've lost her. So shout out. Didn't Tick get 3 adaptations? Let's see, 1, 2. Yeah, an animated version and 2 live action versions. Yep. I feel like none of the indie non-Marvel DC comics get adaptations, even if it attracts lots of interest. No, there's a lot of non-Marvel DC stuff that has been adapted, and sometimes people don't realize that they're based on comic books. Some of them are foreign comics, like that movie that came out last year, Old, by who's that guy that does the movies with the twists at the end of every movie. I'm forgetting his name right now because I'm terrible at names. Old was based on a comic. Snowpiercer is based on a comic. History of Violence, Road to Perdition. There was even that romantic comedy that came out just, I think, this past year with J-Lo and Owen Wilson. That was based on a comic book. So there's lots of adaptations that do get made out of like non-Marvel DC stuff, but it's a while. Oh yeah, let's give you a plug here. Fire Breather got made into an animated film at Cartoon Network. Yes, absolutely. Yep, Walking Dead was adapted. There's a good amount of adaptations from Image, actually. Some of them were short-lived, but Wildcats and Savage Dragon did each have cartoons. Spawn has been adapted into a cartoon and a movie. Invincible, The Boys. Yep. M. Night Shyamalan. Thank you. Shyamalan. Yep. Yeah, History of Violence is great. Who's the director of that? I love his work. Cronenberg, right? I think that was David Cronenberg. There are things. Yeah, Snowpiercer is actually a pretty good comic. It's a French comic. It's not exactly the same, just to be clear, as the premise is the same, but like it goes in a few different directions in terms of the characters that they choose to focus on. But I've read the comic and bande dessinée, and I like it quite a bit, actually. Yep. So there's lots of, and that just means, yes, that's yet another comic book movie that Chris Evans has starred in. So let's see, we've got all the times he played Captain America. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, at least 7 main starring times as Captain America. 2 is Johnny Storm. Casey Jones in the animated TMNT movie that hit theaters. The Losers, that's a DC comic. He was in that. He was in Scott Pilgrim. He was in Snowpiercer. Man, I think that like Chris Evans has to have been in the most comic book movies out of anybody. He has to be. Yep, Tales from the Crypt. That's been made into movies and TV. Yeah, there's lots of stuff. Crimes of the Future was very interesting, and I got what I expected out of it, out of Cronenberg. I wouldn't call it one of his best, but he hasn't lost it or anything. It just wasn't necessarily there. Oh yeah, Asterisk and Tintin have both been adapted. Valerian, that's a good big, movie from France. Queen's Blade got an anime adaptation. Okay, people are just listing off all sorts of comic book adaptations that are indie, and there are a fair amount. There really are a fair amount other than Marvel and DC. It's just that because they're indie, the marketing does not always advertise them as a comic book movie. Like, you ask the average person, A History of Violence or Snowpiercer, they have Old. Who would have any idea that those are based on a comic book out there, The Crow, maybe people would get, maybe. Yeah, look at you guys go. All right, yeah, Ghost World, Verotic, Barbed Wire. Here's okay. You guys know a lot, right? Sometimes when it's absolutely dead at work and I am waiting for my opportunity, in order to pass the time, I go to this one website called Jetpunk. All it is nothing but quizzes, okay? Fill in the blank quizzes. And it just helps me, I feel, keep my brain sharp, just listing all the countries of the world and where they are or something, or listing like 500 characters that have been in Marvel movies and TV shows. You can look up anything and it's in there, like listing every G.I. Joe figure that's ever been out. You know, some of it's useless, some of it's useful. There's one quiz on there that's something like, and it's not completely accurate, but it's very deep, and it says like list every comic book movie ever. And there's some things it won't include, but there's hundreds and hundreds, and you're like, oh yeah, you know, I'm not thinking of From Hell, or I'm not thinking of Faust, or I'm not thinking of you know, like this, that, and the other. There's so many things. I can get all the countries. I can name, like, there's about 197. Yeah, anyway. Oh, look, Andy's following up about Fire Breather. It was supposed to be a series, but Cartoon Network decided to put their money into a Green Lantern animated series instead, Such Is Life. Well, hopefully someday you consider coming back to that and maybe telling some more stories with Fire Breather, because I think that would be really cool. Anyway, it's a pretty cool game or challenge if you guys ever want to, like, try to think of every comic book movie. Go to Jetpunk and look that up. Every comic book movie. Meanwhile, I'll tell you some more comic book news. Marvel's going to celebrate Black History Month. Sure, of course. And they've announced some of what they're going to be doing, since obviously that's, 1-2 months away now. First of all, they're going to produce another Marvel Voices anthology. This one's going to be Wakanda Forever. Makes sense with timing and everything. 5 stories are going to be in that, and a lot of creators, a lot of atypical comic creators, in fact, people that they're pulling from other areas for their voice. That includes people like Todd Harris. He's one of the Marvel Studios storyboard artists. I'm very curious to see what he would do. Eisner-winning writer Sheena Howard. So they're pulling from people that aren't always just like the people that you see every day, you know, like on their comics. And then they've got some variant covers coming up for Scarlet Witch, Thor, Spider-Man, and Moon Knight, where in the story they each team with a popular Black superhero. We're talking Storm, Black Panther, Photon, and Blade, respectively. So there's just like a close-up of some of those variant covers that we've got coming soon. So part of what they're doing for Black History Month to just grow some awareness, some of these things. Yes, my PowerPoint skills increased because of the roids. Exactly right. Exactly right. My PowerPoint game has improved in the past couple of streams. I'm trying to make the show better for you guys. I want to make it as visually appealing as I can. I'm trying here is all I can say. I'm trying. Thank you, though. So just be aware that that's coming up. I definitely liked this one, the Scarlet Witch issue 2 with Storm. I thought that like full cover actually looked really, really cool. And this one for Moon Knight with Blade also looked pretty good. So we'll see what happens. Angouleme. Do you guys know about Angouleme? It is a massive comic book festival, not just a convention. We're talking a whole town creating a festival in France to celebrate, as they call it, bande dessinée, or as we call it, comic books. And they celebrate all sorts of comic books, including comics that were originally created in English, and this year they were translated into French. So we've got some really cool things that I thought I would share. By the way, this is going to be the 50th year for Angouleme. 2023 will be the 50th year. Amazing. There's 13 books that were originally released in English that are up for awards. In the official selection category, that's just sort of like best comic. They call it official selection. We've got Alison Bechdel's The Secret to Superhuman Strength. Loved Fun Home. Incredible book. I still need to read The Secret to Superhuman Strength, but that got a lot of critical acclaim. Tom Gauld created Revenge of the Libraries. We've got Joshua Cutter's Nod Away Volume 2. Chris Gooch's Under Earth. I bet a bunch of you have come across this one. James Tynion IV and Martin Simmons' Department of Truth, Volume 2. and Linnea Sterte's A Frog in the Fall. Have to admit, I don't know all of them. I like Department of Truth, and I definitely really, really want to read The Secret to Superhuman Strength because I like Alison Bechdel. She's funny and just brutally honest. Just great. Alison Bechdel is amazing, will always be a favorite of mine. I sincerely regret not getting to see Fun Home on Broadway. Every time I went to New York, it was just sold out when I was available. Is it getting a movie adaptation? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. It's yeah. Well, welcome back. Yep, biggest convention in the world. I really want to go to Angouleme someday. I really would love to go there. It just sounds so cool. If I was going to France, like I might as well make it a comic book centered trip, right? By the way, there are other big conventions. If you were at all curious, why did we get so many movie trailers this past weekend? You know, we got Guardians of the Galaxy, we got Indiana Jones, things that are like sort of genre like Cocaine Bear. It's because it was CCXP. That's the Brazilian Comic-Con down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I had tickets and was going to go to that in 2020 when what happened? The pandemic. So I still have not been to that one. I'd really like to go to that one, but it's a huge convention. They often will release like trailers and stuff there for that week. If I go, I could see Elsa Charretier. That would be nice. That would be nice. But there's some more comics that are nominated at Angouleme. We've got the Heritage Selection reprint category, things that are reprinted. We've got Gilbert and Jaime Hernandez's Love and Rockets. Talked about that last week. Great comic. Excellent. And Garrett Price's White Boy comic strips from the 1930s. Not familiar, but there's a pretty old set of comics. So that's nominated. Youth Selection, we've got two Western comics nominated there. Hope Larson and Rebecca Mock's Salt Magic, and Trong Le Nguyen's The Magic Fish. Finally, crime thriller category. One of my personal favorites. We've got Jan Willem van de Wettering and Paul Kirchner's Murder by Remote Control. I still need to read that. And Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' Destroy All Monsters. That's the third book in the Reckless series, the one you see right here. So, more power to Western comics. Some nice nominations to pick up at Angouleme. And we'll just have to see who wins. But that's always a good indication of books you should keep an eye out for. Just like things like, say, the Eisners or the Harveys, things like that. You know, the Ignatz Awards. When you see a book that's been nominated a bunch, or maybe like won some best categories, it's something you want to like keep your eye out for, because that's a good indication that a lot of people like it for a good reason. This is interesting. I have the White Boy Collected Edition that I haven't read yet, but I've heard it's a pretty sophisticated take on Native Americans. No kidding. I don't know that. Come to Brazil. Someday I hope I will. Chrissy and I want to. Really want to. Chris wearing a beret and striped shirt, holding a baguette and a glass of wine under the Eiffel Tower. Oh, hi. You got me being in France. Joe Dent says, shout out to Elsa's very instructive YouTube channel. Happy to pass that along. Very cool. Oh, yeah, the Transformers trailer. Yep. Hopefully that's good. You know, I did like that. What was the last one they made? That was Bumblebee. I like Bumblebee. I didn't love the Michael Bay ones at all, but I liked Bumblebee okay. So hopefully this one's more like that. We'll see. We'll all see. You'll all see. Just you wait. You'll all see. Okay. I don't know what I'm saying. Just having fun dropping in some thick black shadows here on my art. I'll show you that in a little bit. But in the meantime, this is probably a good opportunity to move on and share some more comic book news with you. This is my thumbnail title, isn't it? The Miracleman with Avengers is inevitable. Let me put that into some context. Obviously, Marvel got the rights to Miracleman a few years back. And hey, at least in this case, the creators were A-okay with it, you know? Neil Gaiman sold his rights to Marvel. Doesn't seem like Alan Moore has anything negative to say in this particular case. So, but this Miracleman is not necessarily of a kind with the Marvel Universe, even though he's technically a superhero. He's a very different genre. Well, Tom Brevoort is Marvel's executive editor and senior vice president of publishing. I think he's also, at this point, Marvel's most tenured employee. He's been there for a while. He talked about Miracleman being in Marvel on his Substack, which is called Man with a Hat. Some of the things he noted, feel free to sign up and read in detail yourself. But he talked about how, in answering to like a reader's question, like his thoughts on Miracleman being in the Marvel universe, or at least being owned by Marvel, and he said it's very similar to DC adding Watchmen to their universe. He said in his opinion, it does make them seem less special. I thought that was interesting that he was so honest and upfront about it. And I think that's accurate. Watchmen and Miracleman, well, both first of all are written by Alan Moore, but Watchmen is still at least really a superhero story. It's a deconstruction, but it's a superhero story. I would say that even though Miracleman has superheroes in it, it's way more of a sci-fi story. It explores sci-fi concepts through superhumans and how those superhumans work and what the effect on society is, what the effect on people's psychology is. So I would always say that like Miracleman is more of a sci-fi story with a character that has superhuman traits. That's how I would say it. Tom Brevoort says he doesn't see much value in the Watchmen prequel comics, although he did say that he thought out of all of them, the one by Darwin Cook was pretty good, but otherwise, he didn't see much value in that. He also said that said, if Marvel had the rights to something like that, they would have done it before DC. Like, DC at least held off for a long, long time. And he's like, Marvel would have done that decades ago. Like, it's just a fact. They have the rights to that property, then they would have exploited it. They would have used it. The reason DC didn't for so long was probably Paul Levitz just trying to be somewhat respectful to Alan Moore. And as soon as he was gone, DC was like, oh yeah, we own Watchmen, time to start using it. Hey, legal. Brevoort explained that if something feels transgressive, that was his word, if something feels transgressive, like you're not supposed to do this, then there's always going to be a bunch of readers that will at least check things out just like you would a car crash. So it's, in his opinion, inevitable that someday Miracleman will end up hanging out with the Avengers. He didn't say that there are specific plans, but he says it's kind of inevitable that at some point Marvel will do this. If you look at this image here, those are just variant covers where they put Miracleman on the covers, but that's not a real story. That's just a variant cover that looks cool. But they have dropped hints that he will at some point enter the Marvel universe proper through like a Kang the Conqueror time travel type story. We will see. In the meantime, we're still getting Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham finishing their original idea for Miracleman that they wanted to do many years ago. So we're getting a pretty cool story right now, and we'll see what happens beyond that. We'll see. I'm going to sneeze. That's why I'm so quiet. Wow. That just came out of nowhere. As he said on his blog, if Marvel wants to do a Miracleman story, Sentry is right there. It's so true. Sentry is very similar in terms of abilities and powers. So, but what doesn't Sentry have? Sentry doesn't have the brand that Miracleman does. So, yes, you could tell the same type of story, but would it bring in readers the same way that, there's a reason why there was a Battleship movie. And it's not because people were demanding a Battleship movie. It's because people were like, oh, Battleship, I played that. I know what Battleship is. A movie? Well, maybe. That's why they make things like that. It's because people recognize it. That's all it is. That's all it is. Bless you. Well, bless you. Let's see. Not wrong about that. The Sentry is a good alternative to Miracleman and already in the universe. And by that logic, you could also use Hyperion, who's been in the Marvel multiverse for even longer. Thank you. Look at this. Everybody noted. First double salute, now double sneeze. Blessed. I always sneeze for twice. I don't know. Everybody has a specific sneeze, don't they? Well, mine is I just always sneeze twice in a row. Always. I don't know why. I've tried to keep that second one in, and I can't. When I need to sneeze, I always sneeze twice. Sounds like it would be a really bad crime thriller. The Man Who Sneezed Twice. I'm having fun dropping a lot of black here, so sorry I've gone kind of radio silent for a moment. I'll come back. When will Miracleman enter the Battleship universe? As soon as they make a Funko Pop of him, I imagine, because there's probably a Battleship Funko Pop out there already. Why haven't we gotten a Funko Pop movie? Probably the brand, all the licensing all the IPs would be a nightmare, but you have to imagine that some movie studio wants to do that. Hey, I know that thing. I recognize it. I want to see that because I recognize that. In Italian, salute is what they say for bless you. Maybe you're psychic. Maybe. That's got to be it. The Man Who Sneezed Twice would definitely feature Bogey. He's looking at you, kid. Achoo! Let's see. Hyperion would get adapted before Sentry. I don't know. There's a rumor that Sentry will be used in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie as the adversary. So we might get Sentry first. We shall see. We shall see. Oh, gross. How dare you? Then they could make Funko Pops based on the Funko Pop movie. Funko Pops are just precious moment figures for young people. Okay. Hey, all I know is they've got to be selling because they are at every convention. They are at every comic book store. They are at every drugstore. What store does not sell at least some Funko Pops? So I don't know. A lot of people must be buying them. It can't just be a fad. Funko Pops must be very popular with a lot of people. It must be. It's not really my thing, but no shade thrown if it's somebody else's, because clearly a lot of people like them things. It's not niche, is it? Why hasn't there been a TMNT Daredevil crossover? Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of creators would like to. It's probably more of just companies not really wanting to collaborate and share the funds, but that they would definitely work very well together as a story. No question. No question. Hides his giant shelf of pops. You don't have to hide that. Like, I know that like lots of people like them. We'll move on to another piece of news now. I like to announce that so that you guys are braced for another piece of news, that you're like, okay, there's news coming. I know that it's about to come. Chris has warned me. We're about to get that news. Well, here it comes. Here we go. Oh, DC is teaming with Amazon Prime Video. Oh, two big corporations that now work together. What could possibly go wrong? So Warner Brothers Discovery has a TV production arm, and they've announced that they will be teaming up with Amazon to produce animated shows based on various DC characters. Nothing specific yet. They've just announced their intention to work together on something like this. Why has this never happened before? Because Warner Brothers used to have different owners, and now the new president, David Zaslav, says he's open to collaborating, like work with people that know what they're doing and don't feel the need to do everything themselves in-house. They're okay with the idea of collaborating on this. And just to be clear, Amazon did overtake Netflix this year as the #1 most used streaming service. That's according to Parks Associates, who does a list every year of the top 10 most used streaming services. They do that kind of research. So, yeah. Thoughts on these two companies teaming up? Is that something that interests or excites you at all? Or, fills your soul with dread? Like, what's your reaction to this news of animated content coming through Amazon? Obviously, it seems to work for something like Invincible, so I'm sure DC wants to see if they could do that. Yeah, Amazon doing stuff with Marvel too, like the new Silk series. Technically, that's really with Sony primarily, but yeah. Just give us season 2 of Invincible already. Yeah, well, it takes time to make a good show. They're trying to do the best animation they possibly can. I hope Amazon will start investing more money into the actual animation. Invincible was great, but the animation was low budget. I don't think it was low budget. I don't think it was perfect. It was, but I think it was actually really strong animation personally. I do. I think it looked very much like the comic. I think that Cory Walker definitely made sure of that. They also had Nate Bellegarde involved. Nate did background character animation designs, and Cory Walker did the main character designs. Did they use some CG for the background city stuff? Yeah, it didn't necessarily look the exact same as the main animation, but I personally I did think it looked good. I liked it. Did I miss a super chat? Yeah. You cannot share your Amazon account like with Netflix. Okay, didn't know that. Will this include the new Bruce Timm-led Batman series that got dropped from HBO? Big question mark there, Andy. Maybe. Obviously, that would give it a huge platform, so that's definitely possible. Funny how Amazon started like a really bad streaming and became 300% much better. Well, they've definitely spent a lot of money on it, like with that Lord of the Rings show, which, by the way, I still haven't finished. I just wasn't super into it. It wasn't bad at all, but I wasn't super into it. Let's see. So then Amazon is probably where they shop that around that Batman. Oh, yeah. Okay. Same thing yep. Same thing. Cory and Nate, both great. Completely agree. I'm biased. I consider them buddies, but I definitely think that they are making sure that the characters look like they did in the comics. Nate drew a bunch of Invincible spin-off comics. Cory drew, the original issues of Invincible and a few fill-ins along the way. And I think that they did a lot to keep the style accurate to the comics instead of just a generic animated style. I was impressed with it. Maybe I'm predisposed to liking it. I will admit to that, okay? So maybe I'm predisposed to liking it because of the people involved. But I liked Invincible a lot, all around. I really did. In fact, I honestly think that the cartoon made some improvements story-wise and pacing-wise over the original comics. And, that's what you want to say. What's my opinion on Fish Police? I'm a fan lately. Interesting publishing history. I'll be honest, I have not really read Fish Police. I've come across the Fish Police story a few times when talking about other topics, and I definitely remember that single episode of the animated show. I think I watched that, but yeah, I can't claim that I've read the Fish Police comics, so that's not something I'm an expert on. Maybe someday, maybe. Boxing Day is Monday this year. Are you going to be broadcasting? Is Boxing Day the day after Christmas? Am I right there? We don't celebrate Boxing Day here in America, but I want to say that it's on the 26th of December. Somebody can confirm. If that's the case, then I probably will not be the day after Christmas, because for sure I am flying home from visiting my family in New England on a Monday. So probably the day after Christmas, I will not be able to do a live stream. And hey, you guys need a week off too, so that you can have good times with your families and friends and just relax, right? So that's probably the one time I will just go ahead and take off. Okay, somebody just confirmed that. Let's see. Boxing Day is on a Monday. Yeah, then if it's the day after Christmas is all I can say. That day I'm traveling, so it's super unlikely. I don't know my schedule off the top of my head, but I don't think I'm home in time to set things up. I just, even if I was home in time, I really wouldn't have time to set it up. Because it does take me a while, believe it or not, to get this set up, like, the news and the comics and everything like that. Shout at time. Yep. Yeah. Now I'm excited. I get to see my dad. I get to see my sister. I get to see my mom. It'll be great. I'm looking forward to it. I don't get to go out to the East Coast and see my family nearly enough, to be honest. I wish I was just massively wealthy and could just go back and forth on a whim. That would be nice. But it is not what I get to do. So I'm very excited. It's only going to be a brief visit, but I'm excited. No unboxing on Boxing Day. I know. Oh, that reminds me. I came across this today. I didn't know that I still had this. Let's see. I came across today while going through some cleanup, some Gachapons that I have never opened from Japan. I thought that I'd already mailed everything out for Gachapons and stuff. So I stopped doing those, but I found some. So I have a few here that I could theoretically open if you were curious to see one. Food places that I miss in New England, says Steve. I miss each of my parents cooking. Let's see, what else do I miss from New England? See, the thing is, I'm not super into seafood, so I don't really miss that. Gene, help me out. Is there anything like that, like we sort of would go to regularly that I would be missing? I'm sure there is, and it's just not coming to me. But I will say that there are some very local, places where I like they made subs or pizza, things like that, simple food that you can get anywhere in America, but it's what I remember growing up, and so I miss some of that. But also these days, I'm trying to have any sugar or carbs in my diet, so or at least I can't completely avoid carbs, but as few as possible. So it's a little trickier than it used to be. I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jeans. I might have to go to Maria's Subs in the harbor and the harbor. Are you allowed to go back if you don't like seafood? Yeah. Chris, you need to get your trash bags for those Gachapon giveaways. My trash bags? I don't quite get it. I miss those wicked patties. I don't know Eagles Deli, I'm afraid. I don't know that one. Comic shops, asks Steve. Yeah, if I probably won't have time because of being sort of such a brief visit, but I used to shop in Quincy at a place called New England Comics, which is a chain. They are also the people that publish The Tick. So for nostalgia's sake, I would love to swing by that store again if I have any extra time while I'm in Massachusetts. But I'm really only there for a few days, and I want to maximize how much time I spend with my family. So I don't know that it's realistic that I don't know, maybe. If there's one of those days where like my family already has like, sort of work or chores that they need to do, and I just need to get out of the house for like an hour, I could probably find time to go to New England Comics, especially if my sister was not working that day and she wanted to go. That would be fun, just for like nostalgia's sake. I'll see you at NEC, says ChemDog. Yeah, maybe. Pack the cat and have it yet. How you like them apples? That's how we all talk. Oh, you go to the Brockton one. I've been to there. Oh my God, you've been too long. You didn't pronounce Quincy right. I said Quincy, didn't I? Yeah, my Boston accent gene got drummed out of me really early on. I mean, I went to college in New Orleans, right? A lot of people from the South and a lot of people from different parts of the world. And, I would say little phrases or words in a little bit of a Massachusetts accent, and people would sort of be like, ha, ha, ha. And you just sort of slowly work it out of how you talk. So my Massachusetts accent is not really there anymore. I've just got a generic American accent. At one point, I sounded a little bit more like I was from New England, but not really anymore. Went to the theater on Christmas. I have probably am not going to this year unless there's something my family would also really like to see. I love going to the movies, so I'm always down, but no plans right now. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. I lost my accent because of the roids. Let's see. Michael says, the Laughing Shield comic shop in North Attleboro is a really cool place, and the owners are very nice. I love going there. North Attleboro would be pretty far away from where I am visiting, unfortunately. Would love to visit, I love visiting new comic book stores that people recommend. Love it. So someday. Oh, right. I used to just put the numbers in a little, in a little bag, and I'd pull it out and say it was number 5 that won. That was, yep, you're right. Yeah. Mike Mitchell from the podcast Doughboys is from Quincy. Yep, he is. He's a funny guy. That's right. I forgot about him, but you're right. He is from Quincy. Quincy's not too far from where I grew up, about 30 minutes tops as far as like a drive goes. And so like I said, that was the first comic book store I ever went to. And it's not the same, like it was still New England Comics, but it's not the same one that's there now. Sometime in like the early 90s, they moved into a new, bigger store that's still the one they have now. Boy, I wish I had pictures of their original comic store just to like go back nostalgia wise. But that moved before there was really even an internet, so there's just nothing like that. Oh, Mian Yan has a super chat, so let's acknowledge this. What's Moxie like? I heard it's a pretty unique drink, but pretty ranked to non-East Coasters. You know what? I never really drank it, but I didn't drink a lot of soda at all growing up. Gene, have you had Moxie recently? Could you describe Moxie? My sister's still lives there. Will I be stopping at Million Year Picnic? Not likely, to be honest, Victor. I'd like to. I used to live in Somerville after college for about like 2 years, and I could walk to Harvard Square, and I would shop at the NEC there and Million Year Picnic, because Million Year Picnic was so much better at stocking indie stuff. And I also, now that I think of it, I did a signing at Million Year Picnic once. The book, what was the book I signed there? Colonial Comics, Volume 1. I had a signing there once. That was pretty awesome. Sad news, Chris. Christy Alley passed away. Yeah, I liked her on Star Trek 3 or something like that, and she was in Cheers, but she was kind of a weirdo. But of course, I'm sad, to hear that anybody passed away. I'm East Coast and never heard of Moxie. I'm pretty sure it's a soda that's there. Yep, I saw Violent Night, and I agree. It was fun. I won't call it excellent, but I will say it's a pretty good time. It's pretty good. Moxie is really old and not something that's very popular. I think I tried it once, but it's not popular. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've tried it too, but I don't really remember it, to be honest. Sorry. I haven't lived in Massachusetts since 2003, I think. So it's been a long time for me since I've lived in the New England area. My family all lives there. My direct family, my sister, my father, my mother, they all have places there. So I get to see some of them for Christmas, and I can't wait. It'll be good. It will be good. I've got at least one more piece of news. Yep, literally one more piece. So let me pull that up. All right, there we go. And here we go. I think I'm closing out with a fairly big piece of news here. Disney is teaming up with Kodansha. Now, Kodansha is a huge publisher of manga over in Japan. They've got a lot of huge properties over the years. Hey, one of them is what I just reviewed today, and that's the image that's there. Tokyo Revengers. Okay? Tokyo Revengers is one of theirs. They've, just to be clear, Disney has worked with Kodansha for over 70 years. Kodansha has been the people that publish Disney characters in comic book form. Whenever there's a Disney comic book project in Japan, that's coming out through Kodansha. So that's cool. But now that relationship is going to flip the other way. This is exciting to me. Disney is going to distribute some of the animes that are based off of Kodansha manga. And the first up is, in fact, Tokyo Revengers. They're going to start with basically, I guess, the second season of the show for some reason, which was called the Christmas War, the Christmas Conflict. And so that's going to be on Disney Plus this January. And from there, they're going to move on to others. So Disney Plus is going to start showing anime. And hopefully that's interesting. I don't watch anime. I would recommend not necessarily just excluding a whole artistic medium from your life, because all I can say is there is some very good stuff out there. I'm sure that we could all recommend stuff like Akira, anything from Studio Ghibli, all sorts of Cowboy Bebop, FLCL, and then I'm sure a lot of people have their various favorites. But yeah, there's a lot of really good anime out there. That's a lot to exclude from your life. That's a lot. Pokemon is good. Not to actually, but Tokyo Pop and Viz license a lot of Disney manga, and that's fine. Did I say that they were exclusive? I didn't mean to say exclusive, but they do have a huge relationship with Kodansha. Okay. Tokyo Revengers is not fit for Disney Plus. Well, they have stuff like they have R-rated movies on Disney Plus. You can put on like a kid-friendly version, but Disney does not have to mean, PG or nicer. Watch the Marvel anime. Okay. Chris, do you ever think you'll do a vid on Herbie Popnecker? I'd never heard of it, but it's kind of awesome in an effed up way. Herbie Popnecker is hilarious. Yeah, I would definitely consider discussing that at some point. It's pretty weird stuff, and I like it. Disney Plus has Family Guy. Oh, yeah, because they have 20th Century Fox. I forgot about that. That's true. Yeah, Tokyo Revengers does deal with some darker themes than a lot of typical Disney animated projects, but that doesn't make it a bad story. I think it's kind of cool that they're realizing that there is an audience for this stuff and that they need to cater to that audience. So we'll see. It sounded cool to me, but we'll see how effective it is. If you don't have time for series, watch some movies or original video somethings. Original video animations. Is that what OVAs are for? Disney only cares about money and getting more money. They don't care if adult entertainment is on Plus. Yeah, because Disney is a business. Every single business only cares about getting more money. Now, the people that run it may have some ethical boundaries that they establish, but every company only cares about making money. And if they don't, that's a bad business. So as far as businesses go, I do not blame them for trying to make more money. I just blame the people in charge if they go too far. But the business only has a fiduciary responsibility to its stakeholders to make money. It is not a living thing. This time of year, Batman smells. No question. No question. And I hear Robin tends to lay eggs around this time. Disney Plus needs all the content they can get. The artist for Herbie was last seen yelling, pushing a shopping cart or something, and no one knows what happened to him. Pretty dramatic stuff. I've been trying to get back into anime, but YouTube has ruined my attention span. Well, what do you mean? I have just this short little 2-hour show. It just rushes by. Am I a gamer? Asks. Whoops, I missed it. Hold on, I just hit Steve's thing. Eric was the one I was trying to click. Am I excited for the upcoming Indiana Jones game from Bethesda? Here's how little of a gamer I am. This is the first time hearing of that. Do I play video games? Absolutely. Have I been able to get a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series S or X? No, those have only been out for 2 years. I don't have time to pick those up. I would get them if I could. I have found that I don't have very much time to dedicate to games if I want to produce comic tropes. So that was something I had to just sort of mostly give up. I occasionally can play video games, but not as much as I used to. I would love to play more. I do like video games. I think it's a healthy enough way in moderation to decompress. So I don't have anything bad to say about gaming. If I had time, I would do more, but I have had to cut a lot of it out of my life just in order to be productive. And it's tough. It's frustrating, to be honest, because I would like to do more. I find it very fun and relaxing. Well, maybe not always relaxing. Depends on the game, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. That's me. 360 no scopes all around. No, honestly, though, there was an era where I was really good at Call of Duty, but that would have been the original Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1. That was kind of the era where I feel that I was very, very competitive. I always had a good KD ratio there. There was a time where I was decent at it. These days, like, I might not always go negative, but I'm not going to be the same sort of level of big winning that I used to. I like first person shooters a lot. I do. That's probably my favorite overall type of gaming. But I just don't have time for it anymore. I used to have some really interesting people in my friends list at a certain point in time. I used to play with Ice-T sometimes. And by the way, he's actually pretty darn good. There's an actor, Alan Ritchson. He played Raphael in the live action Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtles movies. I used to play with him sometimes. These are just people that I'd like interviewed on a podcast I used to do and just befriended them just enough that I used to play some first person shooter. Oh, and Kumail Nanjiani I used to play with. But just to be clear, we are talking like well over 10 years ago. I don't have them in my friends list anymore. Did I ever get into DDR? No, I can't say that I ever was good at that. Call of Duty Modern Warfare was fun. World at War was awful. Haven't bought a COD since. Okay. Sonic 3 was epic. I never played that. Chris should play Fallout 4. It's based in Boston. I hear that one takes a long time to play. So I just don't think I have time for something like that. The last longish game that I played, I'm trying to even think of like one that would probably The Last of Us 2, which was incredible. Just a fantastic story. Just really, really loved both those games. And so, yeah, am I curious about that HBO Max show? Big time. I hope it's good. I love those games. Love them. We'll see. Oops, I better not hum the Indiana Jones theme too well or YouTube will demonetize me. Oh, I'm almost done editing the next comic tropes. I know I'm going a little slow. I'll be honest, I have been fighting a bit of burnout. Not really totally from comic tropes, though, more from sort of my day job. Not upset at anyone, but I'm just finding it very exhausting and tough. So I'm just sort of fighting a lot of mental exhaustion. It's not easy, but I'm almost done editing it. So that could be up tonight, maybe tomorrow, but real soon anyway. I think a lot of people find it interesting, but I also don't think YouTube will let me monetize it because it is talking about some pretty adult themes and stuff. So I won't make any money off of it, but I might gain some followers from it. So I'm thinking the long term there. We'll see. You know, maybe I'll make some money off of it, but I don't think that they'll let me monetize it. So that'll be a little tough. But I think it'll be one of my better ones. So what can I say? I've got to do stuff that interests me. I've got to do it. That picture looks good. It almost looks like it belongs in a museum. That belongs in a museum. So do you. Maybe I'll rewatch one of the Indiana Jones movies. Are they on Disney Plus? If they are, then I'm in the mood to watch Raiders. Boy, is that a great movie. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark might be like one of my favorite like movies, period. It's just so darn good. I never get tired of it. Burnout in car sales? Exactly. Had no idea you didn't do. Oh, no, this doesn't, like, look, I would love to, but just to be clear, I make some money on this. I definitely do not make enough off of YouTube to pay my bills. That's just not, I'd love to be there. I'd love to be there. It's good money. It is not enough. It's not quite enough. So I have a part-time job. And when I say part-time, that's still 30 hours a week. So what it does is it gives me about a day and a half more than a full-time job to work on this stuff. And one of the things I do to fight against burnout is literally this specific show. I don't have to do very much to prepare for this. You know, there's not the same sort of level of all the editing that goes into the other show. And I find this really fun, just chatting with you guys about comics. I love doing this stuff. So this is something that I need to do to sort of help avoid burnout so that I can keep going with the edited shows. I love doing comic tropes, just to be clear. I love it. But it's a lot of work. And so, yeah, I need to do something that's comic book related to keep me invested in comics, but that's also kind of like easy and fun. And for me, that's doing this live show. Good luck finding those on streaming. Oh, really? Darn. Someone said they wanted a series where Short Round goes around returning things from museums to their proper owners. Oh, that's a really cool idea. That's a really cool idea. Let's see. Car salesmen either have extremely involved hobby or they have a bunch of drugs. These are the only two coping strategies we have. Well, I don't do a bunch of drugs. I'll get there eventually. We'll see. It's going well. It's going well. I feel like I used to think somewhere around 200,000 subscribers on a comic book channel would be enough to pay the bills and stuff. I'm sincerely thinking that might be closer to 300,000 would be like more comfortable, but we'll see. Tell you what, I'm not going to be able to finish this Indiana Jones art tonight, and I've done all the news, but what I could do is wrap things up by opening a Gachapon or two just to see what we've got, right? So that is what I came up with. I was going to draw the horse in black, so I still need to lay in a lot more inks. But anyway. I guess you didn't come in at the beginning of the show, Mango, because, yes, I was reviewing that I picked up the first two Tankobon collection of Tokyo Revengers, and I liked it. I do. I'm going to read more. Whoa, look at this. $10 to ensure YouTube demonetization never forces you to a life of paste-based crime. Max, thank you for the super chat. Thank you even more for the good joke. That gave me a laugh. I appreciate it. Yeah, I saw the Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, whatever it was called. It was sometimes good. Like, it never had enough action for me. Never had enough action. All right. So let's see. What do we have? Got one that says Capsule 1. One that's just totally white and is very, very light. We've got this yellow one that looks like something you have to build. Like it's a lot of parts. So I'm going to assume that's some sort of a robot. I don't know. We've got this pink one that I can tell is a Star Wars character. Same with this light blue one. You guys tell me. I'll open one of them. I've got a light pink one that looks like you assemble some sort of action figure. I'm not sure exactly, but that might be something along the lines of Ultraman, okay? And there's two more to choose from. There's this yellow one that might be some sort of like glow-in-the-dark type creature or animal. I'm not sure. And then this that almost looks like a Terminator type skull, but that has something inside. So probably a robot. So here's your choice to vote. You could either say blank white one, Capsule 1, blue Star Wars, pink Star Wars, pink Ultraman, yellow weird thing, Terminator, or yellow robot. Let's see if any of them go high. Okay, so light white, the robot, light white, the skull. There's two each for those. Capsule 1, capsule, light pink, skull. So the skull has 3. Capsule, I think, is now at 3. Whoa, got a bunch all at once. Hold on. Epic robot moment. Not sure what that means. Terminator. Okay, so I think Terminator's in the lead. Yellow robot. White mystery. Pink Star Wars. Capsule 1. Terminator. Capsule. Light pink. Capsule 1. Terminator. Terminator. Pink Star Wars. Capsule. Yellow weird thing. Weird yellow. Skull. Folks, I think that the skull is winning. I think that the skull has taken over, okay? So I'm going to open this one. Yeah, there's another for the skull. And I appreciate these votes, but I'm going to go ahead and open this skull and see what we've got there, okay? And I could open up these others some other time. Raiders is streaming on Paramount Plus. I do have Paramount Plus. Thank you very much, Smutlock, for telling me. I am so in the mood to watch Raiders. All right. Hopefully we're all in the mood to see exactly what this strange robot could be. Is there a built-in poll function? Yes, but I can only ask like up to 4, so this is good. This is good. All right, so first there's a little plastic that I gotta rip off so that I can actually get at this weird thing. It also has the number 1 on the side, which is kind of mysterious. I got this so many years ago now that I legit just don't remember at all what this could be. It does not ring any bells at all from just looking at this. So this is a good mystery. This is a good mystery. All right, okay. That number 1 was for some reason on this little plastic piece. Let's see how I open this. Oh, okay. So his jaw comes off, and there's a bunch of parts inside, and instructions, and his skull comes up, and there's even more parts. Oh my God, there's a lot of parts here. All right, I got to move some of these out of the way then. Put these away. And I'll see if I can figure out what all these parts are. I have no idea what a Sega mini console. No, I don't think so. Tiny Robo. I don't know, maybe. Does that hinge back on? Okay. So there's that. And he's got holes all over here. So maybe these things connect. Yes, they do. Okay. Okay. This is a lot. This is a lot. So I open this up, and basically this will allow me to build half of sort of a skeletal robot that pilots this thing as like a walking AT-AT from Star Wars, if you will. And it's got several different versions. And then this, yeah, is the directions. This would probably take me quite a while to build if I'm just going to guess. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can do it. It's a MODOK. It does seem to be something like that. Here, let me do it like this so that you can actually see what I'm doing here. And maybe we'll try to assemble this. Maybe. Let me see how many steps. The body of the robot. Like, it's a robot that can ride this as a robot. So I think I take that off. Yeah. And I pop the skull top up. Robo riding a robo. Yes. Oh, that's very kind of you, Ultimate Spider Plush. Whoa, that's kind of you, Andrew. Hey, missed the stream. Well, not completely, but hope everyone is doing well. How many salutes have I missed? 1 set of 2. But tell you what, for that super chat, boom, boom, another set of 2. Because I appreciate your support a lot. Got to open this little plastic baggie here and see what we've got. Watch. This is a weird one. I don't think that this is based on any existing intellectual property. This was probably just so weird that I was like, yep, I like that. Let me get that. Somehow this is supposed to fit into the bottom of this jaw. But how? How? Oh, because this comes off. Haha. It's not easy, folks. I might have to take even this apart now that I look at it. Yep. Okay. Okay. So that gave me like a little platform, essentially. And now I take the... Somehow I've got a robot in here to build. Oh, I got that. It should be modem. It should be. But will it be? I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of this. This is... Okay. This is a set of steering controls that goes onto the forehead. All right, sure. Steering controls. What else makes sense here? Does any of this make sense? Not really. These are feet. I can tell that these are feet. So I'll put those there. Okay, he's got like a hand. This is a hand. So I need to put this claw together. Okay. And then none of this quite tells me how to put it. Oh, there it is. There it is. That tells me how to put it together. I was just guessing for a minute there. This is probably really boring TV, isn't it? I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing here. But I'm having fun. Can I zoom in? That is a great question, Jeannie. Let me see if I can, because that would probably make it more entertaining than just like looking at my dumb face. Let me see what options I have for that. I'm going into extra camera settings. No, it won't let me zoom. It won't let me zoom, I'm afraid. Well, basically, all I'd be doing then, I'll wrap it up, but it lets you give the head some feet. It lets you give the head some steering controls, and then I guess a different what would I call it? Like if I could get a different Gachapon, I might get the robot that pilots it, because I don't think this comes with the robot that pilots it. Unfortunately. I've actually got most of this built right now, though. So I'm going to go ahead and finish, and I'll just show you on one of the cameras exactly what I've concocted. It'll be great. Everybody's going to love it. This is definitely one of the best ideas I've ever had. No question. Yep. Okay. So there, he's got feet. All right. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost done. It's happening. Got to give him his arms. What's a robot without arms? Not a robot, not my book. I don't know what this piece is. I don't think that this is necessary. What are these? Oh, it's the jaw. Okay. Almost done then. Almost done. Bear with. Yep. It's weird. Oh, that's for sure. Actually, this is kind of, this must be for like some other Gachapon, I think. I think it gives you like the ability to, I could have a jaw. Oh, the jaw goes on down below. That's what it is. That's what it is. All right. So, just to be clear, here's what we end up with. We've got this robot face. We've got tiny little pincher arms on the side of his head. And these weird little feet. Up here, this flips up. And apparently, in a different Gachapon set, you can get a tiny robot that would fit inside here, and he could steer it around. It's not armless. Look. See those tiny little grippers on each side? Look at that. Well, you guys voted for it, so you better be excited. You better be excited. I built it for you. Let's see. R2-D2, the galaxy's most powerful weapon. No arms. Yeah, you don't have to have every limb to be productive. Oh, and there's even another little grippy claw here that I can put on. Okay. So I could theoretically have this on my desk and have it hold a pen. Let me get that into position and show you just how useful this could be. Incredibly useful. How beautiful. Yep. This is a good use of everybody's time. That's for sure. That's for sure. There we go. Look at that. He can walk around holding a pen. So I could have this on my desk if I worked in an office and have that there. And I'd be like, oh, hold on, boss. Let me take a note. I happen to keep a pen handy for cases like this. And all I have to do to get it is a little bit of fiddling with my toy that's on my desk. And in no time at all, I will have a pen handy. I'd be happy to take that note. Work harder, don't play with toys. Noted, sir. Looks like a weird Brainiac. It does look like a weird Brainiac, doesn't it? Put the eraser in his head. Got my needed eraser. I don't need that right now. Just put it right there. Just put it down and go, oh, hold on. I made an error in my drawing. Let me just easily get my needed eraser. Work away. There we go. Yeah, obviously a good use of all of our time here at the end. That took a lot longer than my normal live streams because we got to build the walking robot machine thing. Look at all those holes. You could just plug in just about anything there. And he can go, hello, kill me. Oh, hi. You caught me making a robot head to carry my pen. And as you can see, now I'm done taking that note from my boss, and I'll go, well, boss, back to work I go. Let me just put my pen there, and there we go. There, my pencil and my needed eraser. Always at hand. Super easy. Da, 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 da. I hope you liked it, folks. There you go. Yes, bonus. He does look just like me. I birthed him from my own loins. I'm so proud. I knew I could do it. And so you guys got to see a cameo of my cat. You got a ton of comic book reviews and news, and you got me building a weird Gachapon robot. I hope you liked that. I liked talking to you. I look forward to seeing you next week. What am I going to do right now? I'm going to eat something, and I'm going to try to finish editing that next episode. Oh, boy. It is going to be a burner. Oh, all right. My sister has some something nice there. All right. If you wanted to send me a Christmas card, you don't have to go out of your way to send me a Christmas card. But if you wanted to send a comic or anything for me to look at, you can always send it to this address. Comic Tropes, P.O. Box 5834. That's in Kent, Washington, 98064. Good old US of A. Home of no good health insurance. Woohoo! I don't know what I'm doing here at the end. Here's your pen. I get human body now. No, you have to hold my pen for a few years to earn that. I say this becomes a regular part of the show. It's a nice cool down. We could do that about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more times. That takes us into 2023. And who knows? Maybe Chrissy and I will go back to Japan and I'll get a few more gachapons. I'll be honest. I don't plan on doing contests to send things out anymore. It takes so much time and it's more expensive than you'd think to mail these silly little things. But I might get 1 or 2 that we could just open on the show. And if you ever see me at a convention, maybe I'll have them in my backpack to give away, something more like that. But I think that this is a great time to wrap it up. Let some folks go. I know a bunch of you are all the way over in jolly old Europe. That's what they all call it, right? Especially in Germany, they say jolly old. They definitely don't say it in just the UK. It's countries like Slovakia and Croatia, Belarus. I know my countries. See you, everybody. You guys were great. Keep reading comics. Boom. Boom. Bye-bye.